So chapter 40 is The Fox's Lair. I love them. I'm loving this book. I like this book much better than season 2, I will say, because season 2 is not it's like season 6 is my least favorite, and then season 2. He is a hoot. So chapter 40, Claire, Jamie, and Myrta are headed to see Jamie's grandfather, Lord Lovett, and Myrta tells Claire that Jamie has actually never met Lord Lovett, but Jamie tells her about the time that he did see him. They didn't meet, but they saw each other. So Lord Lovett never approved of Brian marrying Ellen Mackenzie. Big surprise. So they never spoke to each other. He married Ellen, and that was that. But Brian had taken Jamie. I had a hard time reading Lovett when he wasn't making sense. I know. He didn't make sense a lot. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, named Twin. So Brian took Jamie to board a ship to take Jamie to France when Jamie was going to university. And they ended up seeing Lord Lovett come down with like a small party out of the castle, which is where, is it Beaufort? Something Beaufort? I don't know. Anyway, the castle where he was, where he lives. And Lord Lovett notices Brian right away, like he sees Brian. I mean, Jamie's hair is like a beacon, so you can't miss him. And neither Jamie nor Brian turn to look as they board the ship. But once Jamie's aboard and Brian leaves, he like looks at Lord Lovett, and they like their eyes, like they're looking at each other, right? And he tells Claire that he just looked cold as stone. So we also find out during this that Jamie has sent the Lollybrock men home, and he wants them to leave like little by little in small groups of like 3 to 4. And he knows they're going to be classified as deserters, but the army is kind of dwindling anyway, so they're not going to have enough men to go after them. He just really wants his men to be safe. I mean, he doesn't know what's going to happen while he's gone, right? Like, what if they fight another battle? What if something happens? So he just wants to have the knowledge that his men are safe at home. And he knows if he needs to call on them again, you know, they'll come. Myrta also is not fond of Lord Lovett. And here's where we find, which I don't feel like they talk about in the show a lot, we know how much Myrta loves Ellen. That is spoken about a lot, right? But I don't feel like it's talked about how much, like the relationship that Myrta and Brian had. Because he, you know, Jamie tells Claire, you know, he loved my father and he loved my mother too. And he didn't approve. He didn't like the way that Lord Lovett treated them after they got married. So I wish, which I guess that's going to be in the prequel book too, Blood of My Blood. I can't wait to see Myrta and Brian's relationship. And I think that's just because Jamie, I think, is so much like, maybe that's just me imagining, but I think Jamie is a lot like Brian. And so I'm excited to see Jamie, Myrta and Brian together, because I think it's going to kind of resemble Jamie and Myrta. Hi, Bestie. Myrta also didn't like the way, love reading about Brian and Ellen. I know, I swear, the more breadcrumbs we get for Blood of My Blood, it makes me like that much more excited for, and I don't know that I can get any more excited. So we also find out that Myrta doesn't approve, which nobody approves of this, but it's just told, you know, with him explaining why Myrta doesn't like him, the way that Lord Lovett goes about getting his wives, which was pretty much by tricking them into marriage or forcing them into marriage. And we find that he had to flee from France after his late wife's maids spoke up against him. And I actually looked that little tidbit up. That is historically factual. Diana for sure does her research. So Lord Lovett wanted, or Simon Fraser wanted the lordship, right, of Lovett. Sorry, it's, my mind is it's like almost 10 here, so I'm just like, what? So whenever, I think the man's name was Hugh that currently held the lordship, but when he died, his Lord Lovett tried to marry his daughter, but she was already, thanks bestie, she was already getting married to someone else because her uncle was a Murray, and I guess they were kind of powerful in that time, and so he married his niece off to someone else. So then Simon was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just marry the widow. And he forces her to marry him and consummates the marriage. She's unwilling. And so that's when, hi, Anna, my love. Whenever her family, her brother, I don't know his first name, but he's a Murray. Whenever he finds out about that, they essentially press charges against Simon Fraser, and this is when he gets exiled. I've been watching a new series on Apple TV. Oh, the Buchanans. Oh, sweet. I'll have to look into that. Thanks for sharing that. So while he's in France, he goes to King James in Rome, and he swears allegiance to him. And then King James promises that he will restore his lands and his titles once he gets the throne back. And then when William of Orange is visiting France, Simon's like, oh, hey, here's what's going on. I have all these charges against me, yada, 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 yada. And he gets a full pardon. So he's playing both sides, right? Like, he's basically promising allegiance to William of Orange and then going to King James and being like, yeah, I swear to you too. Like, so that's why he has the name The Old Fox. Oh, yay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. So we find out later he ends up returning to France. He's spying on the Jacobites, and then he was discovered and thrown in prison. He escaped, goes back to Scotland. He's a hot mess. So in 1715, he ends up getting the clans together. And this is where I'm at. I actually made a video about this. I'm going to post it this week. About this because I'm a little history nerd, if you don't know. And there was a rising, a Jacobite rising. There were many of them, and one of them was in 1715. Thank you so much. So there was a rising in 1715. So when I saw 1715, that like perked my ears up, right? And if you remember, are you excited for season 8 of Outlander? I'm excited, but they can take their time with it because that means it's going to be over. I don't want it to be over. So I'm excited, but I want them to just take their time because I'm going to go through a mourning period whenever it's over. I think we all are. So basically, in my video, we'll explain this. So there's a title in Blood of My Blood. One of the episode's titles is Braemar. So the Earl of Mar basically started this rebellion by raising the Stuart flag at Braemar, and this was in 1715. So it sounds like Simon Fraser was kind of helping him call the clans together, right? Getting the clans together. But he, from what Jamie tells Claire, tells them that it's just a hunting party, right? And then he goes to the English and says, oh, these men are Jacobites, and turns them in to get favor with the English. I don't know why anyone trusts him at this point. I'm like, I don't want to go hunting with you. You're probably going to unalive me the second we get out there anyway. Like, I don't know why anybody trusts anything he says. So he got credit then from the English for helping to put down the rising. And after Jaime kind of tells Claire all about his backstory, Claire asks which of his wives is Jaime's grandmother. And he tells her none of them. And he says, I should have told you sooner, but my father is a bastard, but Lord Lovett recognized him. His mother was a maid, and we know her name's, oh my gosh, you guys, my brain is not working tonight. Davina Porter, oh my gosh, I knew that. So he apologizes to Claire, and he tells her, I should have told you before. But Claire's from the future where that kind of stuff really doesn't matter. So she doesn't think anything of it. But to Jaime, it does matter. So when they end up arriving at the castle, Claire sees Lord Lovett, and he's instantly rude to her. Classic Lord Lovett. And he really just treats her terribly, and so does his son, young Simon, which is so different than what we see in the show. And young Simon is using like Gallic phrases to insult her because he knows that she's not going to understand what they're saying. Drink lots of water, solar flares. I'm telling you, I was trying to do like stuff even today, and I'm like, where are the words? I know they're in my head. I just cannot. I know Tony Curran is such a good actor too. It's gonna be chef's kiss. I just know it. So young Simon says something in Gaelic to her, and that earns him a punch from Jaime because Jaime's gonna stand up for Claire. But Claire isn't the only one that Lord Lovett talks bad about. He also has some very choice words about Jaime's mother, Ellen, which takes all the strength Jaime has to not go off on him. You don't talk about Jaime's mother. Claire at one point sees him throw his seer, Maisry, out on the floor, and she sees that she has like a red mark on her cheek. And he throws her out because she won't tell him what she saw, the vision that she saw. So they're there for a few weeks, Jaime and Claire and Myrta. They're there for a few weeks, and they're trying to get Lord Lovett to send his men. Thank you so much, Michelle. And one day, Jaime comes to get Claire, and he tells her that his grandfather wants to see her. So they go to meet with Lord Lovett, and Jaime once again tells him what's going on with the army, all of the details that he's told him 100 times already in the past few weeks. Lord Lovett wants something in return if he's going to send men, though. Just the way he is. He wants Jaime to swear allegiance to him so that he is able to get money from Lollybrock. Jaime, of course, is not going to do that. So Lord Lovett threatens Claire, telling him that he'll let his men have his way with her. And Jaime doesn't even really bat an eye at this. He knows how superstitious Lord Lovett is. Yeah, Jaime's not going to go for that. He knows how superstitious Lord Lovett is. So he knows exactly how to play this. So he tells him that Claire's a white lady, and he mentions Dame Alicet, which we learn later is basically the Scottish equivalent to La Dame Blanche. And he tells him that any man that takes her in an unholy embrace will have its privates blasted off like a frostbitten apple, and their soul will burn forever in hell. And I highly doubt Lord Lovett had anything to say to that. Oh, I remember that part. And then he ends up, doesn't he take his fake teeth and throws them in the fire? Oh my gosh, that was so funny. I remember him doing that, but I think he had a whiskey glass and he threw it in the fire. Oh, so that was funny. Chapter 41 is the Seer's Curse. And this is where we get to see Claire gets to talk with Maisry. Claire is she finds kind of quiet time walking through like a kirkyard, it's kind of like a graveyard attached to like a ruined chapel. And so she's there one day and she comes across Maisry. And Maisry tells Claire that she's just there thinking. And she doesn't understand why she has this gift or this curse, as she calls it, when she can see what's going to happen, but she can't do anything about it. And she says something that, if it's something Lord Lovett values, it is the family jewels. That's true. That's true. The family jewels and actual jewels, actual money. So Maisry says something that really resonates with Claire. She asks Claire, because she's heard that Claire is, a white lady, this gift or this curse. This gift or this curse I have inside. I know. I was singing that today. That's hilarious. I was singing that today. Why is everything just Wicked? I just sing the whole Wicked soundtrack. So she asked Claire, I know where Shawnee's at work. She asked Claire if she thinks that if their power isn't for them, but it's like necessary for someone else. So they have this power, but it's for someone else. It's meant for someone else. And I really think that what Claire has to be thinking about in this moment is the Battle of Culloden, right? Like, is she only there? Like, did she only travel through the stones to stop this from happening? Hi, Katie. That has to be going through her mind with that. Thank you so much. Thank you. So she asked Claire, should I tell Lord Lovett what I saw? She says, I have been able to save some people here and there. Sometimes I can't. So Claire kind of takes this conversation and she realizes that if she's able to stop some deaths from happening, then it's possible for the future to change. So Claire's kind of hopeful at this point. Maisry tells Claire about the vision she saw of Lord Lovett. I felt like this episode was a fever dream. And the vision she had about Lord Lovett was about his death. And she decides, you know what, I'm just going to tell him about it. And before she leaves, Claire asks her, what do you see? Basically meaning her, like, what do you see when you're looking at me? And Maisry tells her, I don't see anything but you. But Claire knows, like, I don't have any powers. I can't see the future. Like, I have knowledge of the future, but I can't, like, I have no way of stopping this. I only have my knowledge. She can't make people or force people to do something or not do something. And she doesn't feel like she's enough in that moment. So Lord Lovett keeps going back and forth and seeming like one point he's going to send his men, the other minute he's not. He's like, oh, well, we can wait. There's no rush. We've got time, yada, yada, yada. And Jamie knows what he's doing. He's just biding his time to see which of the two is more likely to win, right? And Lord Lovett kind of dragging his feet really makes young Simon mad because he's like chomping at the bit to go. He's ready. And as they argue, Claire notices that Lord Lovett is not looking too hot, which he probably doesn't as is, but he's not looking well. And she discovers that he has a swollen prostate after he explains his symptoms to her. And basically he's unable to urinate. And so Claire tells him what to do, and that whole conversation, I was cracking up. That I love that he tries to make Claire uncomfortable, and she just like, she has like the perfect responses to him. Like she, whenever like he meets her for the first time, he talks about how bad she looks and how raggedy, and she's like, well, thank you. She is so unbothered. Like, she does not bother her in the least. So he ends up deciding that he's going to send his men, and he's having his secretary write this letter to the Bonnie Prince, and they are trying to explain why he can't, because he's using this illness or whatever as a way to get out of going, like, accompanying the troops, right? But really, he doesn't want to go, because if he's at home, he can say, and if he's home and the Jacobites lose, he can say, oh, it was my son that went, not me. Like, he did it against my orders. But if the Jacobites win, he could say, oh yeah, I sent my son and sent men with him. So he's playing both sides, which we see in the show too. So he's having his secretary write this letter, and he mentions a ring from the Earl of Mar, because they're wanting to, thank you, 10K likes, yay! That is when Lord Lovett accepts Claire as his granddaughter-in-law, when she can solve his condition. Yeah. I think he's like, okay, I can't bother this lady. Like, nothing is, explains why Jamie is so creative and inventive. It sure does. But he does not get his loyalty from his grandsire. That's for sure. So, again, my ears perked up, history nerd here, when they said the Earl of Mar, because as I said, one of the episode titles, and I made a video all about this before this live, so I'm excited to post it. What? He reposted your TikTok? Oh my gosh. What was I going to say? The Earl of Mar, he was going to give his ring from the Earl of Mar to the Bonnie Prince, and that perked my ears up, because the Earl of Mar is the one who started called the clans together to start the 1715 Jacobite Rising. So, does that mean we're going to get to see Lord Lovett involved in the 1715 Rising? Because I think that's when Blood of My Blood is going to take place. It's like 1715-ish. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, if we don't get to see it this season, it may be next season, or I don't know. But that definitely, like, I was like, oh, the dots are connecting here. So I was flipping off when I see pictures of the antique store, which is always, I love that. So he tells them that he sent 200 men to join the army, right? But after they leave and they're marching away with the men, Jamie counts the men while he's waiting on Claire to go to the bathroom because she's taking so long. So he counts, and he only counts 170 men. But Jamie knows that these names would have been written down. So he goes and rides up to the clerk and asks to see, like, the list. And they get into an argument, but the clerk ends up showing the sheets to Jamie. And Claire can't hear what's happening. She can just see what's going on. And Jamie takes one sheet and he shakes it in young Simon's face, and he's like furious. And so young Simon reads the paper and he just looks up at him like he's like bewildered. He doesn't know what's going on. So Jamie takes this sheet and he rips it up and he puts it in a sporran, and he rides back to Claire, and he tells her that Lord Lovett, the 30 extra men that were listed, are the Lollybrock men. And he knows why Lord Lovett has done this, because he wants Lollybrock. He lost Lollybrock whenever Brian and Ellen got married. And if the Jacobites win and Lord Lovett is made a duke, then he could claim that he's basically always been over Lollybrock, and Jamie was renting it from him, and his proof that he owns it will be that those 30 men are on that list, and they're listed under him. So, but Jamie knows. No one's ever going to know now because he ripped it up. I just love Jamie. So, Jamie and Claire go to Lollybrock to get the men, and they have this reunion with Ian, and yeah, all he cares about is himself, for sure. So, they have this really cute reunion with Jenny and Ian and their kids, and Ian asks Jamie if he's brought any of the men back with him, and Jamie's confused because he's like, what do you mean? Like, aren't they here? And Ian tells him, no, like, no one returned, no one came back. Then they hear a shout outside, and Myrta comes flying up, and they know he does not have good news. So then we're on to chapter 42, reunions. And it turns out they were right. It was not good news that Myrta brought. The Lollybrock men didn't return home because they were caught about 10 miles away from the army. And Charles was so furious at them deserting that he sent them to prison and sentenced them to death. So Jamie rushes to Holyrood in Edinburgh, and he demands to see Charles. And he talks to Ewan Cameron. Sorry, was it late? Oh, no, you're fine, Sierra. I don't know why it doesn't notify anybody. Was it late? Oh, no, you're fine, Sierra. I don't know why it doesn't notify anybody. Like, people will register. I set the live up to register, and people register, and it still won't notify them. I think TikTok just hates me. I don't know why. I don't know what I did. But I'm glad you're here now. So he ends up talking to Ewan Cameron, and Ewan Cameron explains to him what happened. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. And he sent orders to Lord John Bay all day. Thank you, Lori. He sent orders to how do I say this? I'm just gonna say it because TikTok doesn't like me anyway. He has orders to hang the 20 men, or the 20 of. Oh no, sorry, I read my note wrong. Jamie asked Cameron, this Ewan Cameron, if he has orders to hang the 20 or so men of his that have deserted, because his men have deserted too. So what's the difference? If my men are being punished, your men should be punished too. And, you know, Ewan Cameron tells him, well, they haven't been caught. Of course. So he advises Jamie, he tells him, you know, just go to the prince, go to Sterling and talk to him. He, you know, really admires you. You're a great friend to him. Just beg for their lives. So they also learn from young Simon that Dougal Mackenzie is there in Edinburgh. And he's become, thank you, Lori, he's become the prince's favorite because he brought 250 men to join the army, which is really nothing because, you know, a lot of men are doing that. But the thing that earned him the favorite spot was he brought 10,000 pounds. And Claire's like, I've heard this somewhere before. Where have I heard this? Oh, yay. Yeah, I think if you tap my picture and then, I don't know if there's like a notifications place on there, but I think you can click all and then it'll notify you if I'm live, or it should. I don't know. I'm so sorry you guys aren't getting the notifications. That really frustrates me. So Claire's like, I've heard this somewhere before. And then she remembers that she heard it while she was in the Thieves' Hole with Galis Duncan. Oh no, you don't get my notifications either. Try that. I think if you click my picture, thank you, Cynthia. I think if you click my picture, there's some way that you can hit all. I'm not sure how to do it. If someone knows, if you can put it in the chat. I can't remember, but I think there's a way you can change it to like all when I go live. Thank you, Cynthia. So yes, so Claire remembers that she's heard this sum from Galus Duncan in the Thieves' Hole. And she remembers how Galus said that she has stolen 10,000 pounds from her husband. So that's where Dougal got the money. And so young Simon tells Jamie, since Dougal is the I can't do the Roger Mac Daddy one. Doreen, I love you. Thank you so much. I love that. I can't do it. Roger Mac Daddy. Liz does it so much better than I do. There you go. It's in the chat. Roger Mac Daddy. I love you so much, Doreen. Thank you. So young Simon tells Jamie, since Dougal is the prince's favorite, talk to him and have him help you kind of get the men released, get the Lollybrock men released. So young Simon knows that Dougal also wants Lollybrock, and he knows that Dougal would rather deal with Jamie than with the Frasers of Lovett. So he's going to be more inclined to help Jamie so that Jamie can keep his men and his land, right? So Claire stays in Edinburgh while Jamie, Simon, and Dougal go to Stirling to see Prince Charles. And Claire goes to see the Lollybrock men, and she ends up bribing the prison guard so that she can give them medicine and food and things like that. And she's even able to kind of sneak and talk to Ross. And he tells her, you know, it's my fault that we were caught. Okay, but do you guys know? But how do you guys not get a glare on your glasses? Off topic. Oh, I do. 100%. See, my ring light is reflected. 100%. I hate it. I wish I knew how to not do it, but yeah, mine do it too. So he says, yeah, we just ignore it. So Ross says, you know, it's my fault that we were caught. Most of the men have never really been far from Lollybrock, and I didn't want them to get lost, so we didn't go in groups. We all went together. And so, you know, that's a huge red flag when you have 30 men traveling together. So Claire's like, you know, don't blame yourself. Jamie's gone to Stirling. He's going to set things right. It's going to be okay. And Ross tells her that some of the men are sick, and he asks if she can get blankets for them. I just put my comments on paper. I can't keep up. That's okay. Claire knows that blankets are in short supply and they are expensive, and she doesn't have any money. Like, they have money, her and Jamie have money, but not with them. And so she looks for things to pawn. And same, Kim, I know, my heart shattered. My heart absolutely shattered. She sells Ellen's pearls. What? I'm so upset about that. I'm really upset about it. Why would she do that? Why would she do that? Okay, this was wild though. Why? Why would she do that? That was like a thing that had been passed down. That was a thing she could have given to her children from the grandmother they would never meet. Because, oh yeah, I can't. I'm very mad at Claire for doing that. So while she's at the pawn shop, betraying us all, she sees, I know, I mean, I get it, but like, couldn't you have found something else? Anything else? I don't know. So while she's at the pawn shop, she runs into Mary Hawkins. And Mary is excited to see her, and she tells her that she had news from Alex that he was in Edinburgh, so she asked her father if she could go stay with her aunt, who is also in Edinburgh, and she's been spending time with Alex. Oh, you missed it. I wish I could have missed it. I was like so sad. So Mary tells Claire, I know there isn't much you can do, but can you please come see Alex just to see if there's some way that you can help him at least even be comfortable? And Claire agrees, of course she does. So she tells Fergus to take the money to Myrta and have him buy blankets for the men. So Claire and Mary go to see Alex, and Claire doesn't have any medicine on her, so there's really not a lot she can do. I know, I was like, there's Mary. I was like, Mary has to be here somewhere. I know how this story goes. Where is Mary? So there's really not a lot she can do for Alex, apart from examining him, and she tells him that she'll come back the next day. So, a few days go on, and she knows that the Lollybrock men's weapons have been confiscated, and so Claire's been working to get those back. So she spends her days going to the prison, treating the men, going to see Alex, trying to help him, and she gives him things to kind of help him sleep, and she specifically comes in the morning so that Mary can get the most time with him when she comes, so that Claire's not there interrupting their time, because Claire knows and Mary knows they don't have long left, right? So she goes to visit him one morning, and the bad penny, Jonathan Randall, is there. Blackjack Randall, he just keeps coming back. So he's there. And Alex tells Claire that he asked him to come because Blackjack has some news that he can share with Claire. The bad penny, yes. And he wants to help Claire because he knows how much Jamie and Claire helped Mary and Franz. So he wants to kind of repay her in pretty much the only way he can. So Blackjack tells Claire that General Cope has been replaced by General Hawley, and he had already told her that that was going to happen. So he said, as I predicted, General Hawley's in charge now, and he has been ordered to retake Stirling. And under his command are 8,000 troops, but he's waiting on 6,000 Hessians and another 1,000 men from Clan Campbell. So Claire knows she has to get this information to Lord George Murray, who is a senior officer, very quickly, because as it is, the Highland Army has 6,000 to 7,000 men. So if they were just fighting General Hawley's men, they might have a chance. But if the Hessians and Clan Campbell men get there, there's no way. They're going to be slaughtered. Do you guys ever wonder what Blackjack's ancestors were like? Yes, Doreen. I do wonder that. I also wonder, what happened to him as a child? What made him so dark? Because people aren't born that way. Something made him like that. So I am curious. And honestly, with as obsessed with Blackjack as Diana is, I'm surprised she's not written a backstory about him. I don't think she has any plans to, but she seems to like him a lot. So I'm surprised she hasn't made a spin-off for him, or not a spin-off, but a novella for him. So Claire knows with this information, she has to get it to the commanding officers, but she can't leave because the Lollybrock men are still there, and she has to take care of them. I have a disagreement with my best friend. I think people are born evil. She's like you, Katie. Oh, okay. It would be a dark, dark novella for sure. I'm just curious though, what happened? So she ends up having Myrta go to relay the information. Maybe he spent his life protecting Alex from the abuse. That could definitely be, Shauna. That could definitely be. He's very protective of Alex. Yeah. Oh, that's true too. I think they're born with it, but the environment they're brought up in or events activate. Yeah, that's true too. So she plans on sending Myrta to go warn. I'm a little in love with Alex too. He's so sweet. He's so sweet. So she's going to send Myrta, and she goes back to her room, but Myrta's already there, and she hears a lot of other people too. And when she goes in, she sees all the Lollybrock men are in there. And Fergus tells her that Jamie had gotten a pardon for them and sent a messenger with word, that they were free. And they also received orders that they're to join them at Stirling. And Fergus asked Claire if Myrta is going to take the men there. And Claire thinks of Jenny Cameron and how she led her men over the mountains, and honestly just what a badass she was. And she's like, no, you know what? I'm going to take them there. I love Claire. I love her so much. Sorry, I missed some comments. Yeah. That's true, Shauna, too. Yeah, you guys have really good points. So then we're in chapter 43, which is Falkirk. This one was crazy. Claire has zero problems having complete audacity to say, she really does. Sometimes to her own downfall. She doesn't remember what time period she's in. But we love her. So chapter 43, Claire and the men reach Stirling, and they find that Ewan Cameron's spies, thankfully, have found the same information that Claire was going to bring them. So they're good, because she was worried, are they going to trust me? I'm a woman. I'm English. Are they going to trust what I have to say? So it's good that his spies have reported the same thing, because, somebody has her back now. So the army heads out, but once they reach Falkirk, their scouts report that the English have spotted them. So Jamie instructs Claire to go to a church up on the hill and hide during the battle. And he tells her, I will come find you. If I can't, I'll send Myrta. So Claire goes up the hill, and she goes into the church with her horse, and she can hear the battle outside. And she then sees Highlanders coming up the hill, and she recognizes the voice of one of them. It's pitch black in there, so she can't see. So she recognizes the one. One of them is Willie. Still blunt, but more apt to think a little sometimes first. That's true too. Yeah. Dougal's there, and some other men have brought Rupert in because he's injured. So Claire does her best to examine him in the pitch black, and she notices that he knows he's been hit with a musket ball, right? So she finds the spot, and I just love how well they portray Rupert's humor in this. There really are so many Williams in this story. But she, is searching for she's searching for the wound, and he's like, if you touch me there, I'm gonna forget all about the injury. And she's like, just take my hand and put it on the musket ball hole. I love him so much. So she finds, I know, sassy Rupert. So she finds, the entry, and it has not gone through. So that's not good. And she kind of feels around where, the entry side is, but there's not a lot of bleeding there. But she's held a rag up to his mouth to check to see if he's bleeding from his mouth. And the rag is soaked. So she knows that his chest is filling up with blood, and the only thing that could possibly save him would be a surgery that she can't do. So there's nothing that can be done for him. And so they hear a crash, and thankfully it's just Jamie coming in through a window, and he tells her that the English are starting to surround the church, and there's no way they can escape. So he knows, he tells them too, like, we're probably going to be caught because I can see your footprints that lead right to the church too. So with this news, Rupert asks Dougal to end his life because he doesn't want to be taken out by the English, right? And Dougal doesn't want to. No big deal, just Jamie coming in. Jamie comes in through so many windows. Have you not heard of a door? No, I'm just kidding. But Dougal doesn't want to, but he knows that there's nothing that can be done for him. And Rupert asked Claire to hold his hand. That part made me cry. I was sobbing during this part. I was sobbing. And I know, like, we didn't really get a good look at who Rupert is in the book. We weren't really, I feel like if you're just a book reader, you're not going to be, like, emotionally attached to this character. But I just kept thinking about Rupert from the show. I just kept thinking about Rupert, our Rupert. And I'm like, oh my God. So he asks Claire to hold his hand. And he says, goodbye, Bonnie Lassie. Oh my God. I love, though, he tells Jamie, you know, she should have married me. Oh, he, like, jokes all the way until the end. So Rupert dies, and they're all just kind of there waiting. And so the morning comes around, and the English have discovered that they're in there. And they order them to come out. And they tell them that if they do not come out, if they do not surrender, then they'll set fire to the roof. So Claire says something, like she yells at them, and they realize there's a woman inside. And so this part was very different than the show too. Dougal, because before it was Claire's idea, right? Like in the show, it was Claire's idea. And Dougal's like, oh, she's right, you know. But here, she yells, like, not thinking about it. And Dougal yells back at them and says, that's right, we've got her in here and we're holding her captive, you know. And Jamie is not happy about this, but, and different from the show, Jamie agrees a lot faster than what he does in the show. In the show, he's like, no, we're not doing it. We'll find another way. Blah, 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 blah. But in the book, he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. He's like, no. And then they say something else. He's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, you know, Dougal says, it's the only way that we can all get out of here alive. So Claire agrees, and she tells Jamie, you know, let me go. It'll be fine. So he agrees, and Dougal goes out to negotiate with them. And Jamie knows where they're going to take her. I think there's like a manor house nearby. So he tells her, you know, I will come and get you just after nightfall. Claire! So he tells her it's probably a good idea to swoon, because they're going to ask you a lot of questions, and, you know, you're going to want to have time to think about it. So swoon, pass out, so they can't ask you anything. So once the deal is made, Dougal comes back in, and Jamie and this is different again, because Dougal takes her out, not Jamie. So Jamie carries her out and gives her over to the English. And Claire is among strangers. What's gonna happen? So that was that for this week. I'm in love with this book. I'm in love with this book. They were such great chapters. This is the second time I've said this in this live, and I say it every time. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing about it, but I can't believe how many differences there are. And some things I'm like, why did they change that? But I think it's for the overall, like, storyline. Like, some of the little things they change are for the overall, like, to condense the overall story, you know. But still, some things I'm like, couldn't you have just done it this way? Like she wrote it. Show needs to give consent when they can because of all the other no consent parties they have to keep. Yeah, it does have to be good for TV, but some of the differences, I'm like, that would have, the way in the book would have been better than what they did. But, you know, what are you going to do? So next week, we're going to do 44 through 46. So 44, 45, and 46. And this will take us up to part 7. Yeah. I think overall the book makes much more sense time-wise. It just stinks that they had to condense it so much. Like, if we could still go back in time and have the shows that had like 20 to 23 like episodes a season, I miss that. Thank you, bestie. Thank you, name twin. So yes, 44, 45, 46. That'll take us to part 7. And I will tell you something. We have so we have this batch this week that we're going to read. The next set of chapters that we read, that's it. So the next time we'll read part 7 to the end of the book, and we're going to be done. I cannot believe that. We're so close, you guys.